Hey guys, Mitko here from DNModels, and today we're going to take a look at the newest member of F-4 family from Zoukei-Mura, the D variant of the Phantom. This is a logical continuation of Zoukei's Phantom line, following their last release, the F-4C. D version was an upgraded C, and around 800 were built in very short time, about 2 years from start to finish. Some of those were converted into Wild Weasel variants, and later on, some were sold to Iranian and South Korean air forces. The D variant is a C with upgraded avionics capable of using laser-guided weapons and AIM-4 Falcon missile. The D was more of an interceptor compared to the C, which was ground attack-oriented aircraft. Zoukei-Mura provided us with the same looking beautiful box containing similar sprues to the Phantoms we reviewed before. There are differences of course, and sprue and decals typicals for this particular plane are inside. Loran-D antenna is the most distinctive feature of the D variant of the Phantom, and that is included here too. If you have seen any of my other Zoukei-Mura reviews, this one won't hold huge surprises for you. However, bear in mind that the overall contents of the kit are slightly improved. This is the best tooling of a Phantom available in the market today and in any scale. So, if this is your first encounter with Zoukei-Mura's F-4 Phantom, enjoy what you're about to see next. One thing that intrigues me every single time with Zoukei-Mura kits are the instructions. They start with a description of the specific aircraft and a guideline for how instruction sheet works here. More specifically, the Zoukei-Mura design concept. The kit is abundant in terms of options and positionable elements, so you have to pay attention. Before starting with the build steps, there is a mandatory description of the paints and tools that are suggested from the manufacturer. This kit can be used as a startup model, although I would expect that an experienced modeler will be the one that is going to be dealing with that, so no additional information will be provided here for me. The steps are built around pictures, but are full with information too. I would advise you to read thoroughly. This is a Japanese kit, and we all know the devotion and concentration that Japanese people exercise on every aspect of their lives. This here is no different in any way. If you'd like to be successful, you have to be concentrated, punctual, and approach this kit with respect. Everything is written down properly, the options and the cautionary sections. Alongside with that, all the paint numbers are there too. Unlike 32nd scale instructions that Zoukei-Mura offers for their bigger kits, this booklet is in black and white only. In my opinion, it is the only eventual letdown, but it is all a matter of perspective. I found it to be useful with my first F-4 from Zoukei, since using a sharp pencil will help a lot outlining or marking out any completed or important steps. That way it seems like it is all a part of the instruction sheet. Engines, for example, are parts that can be placed inside or out of the plane. Instructions feature exact alignment and advisory notes depending on your choice, of course. Be careful with that part of the build. Enclosing everything might create some difficulties if you haven't followed the instructions accurately. Same goes for the closed fuselage on the steps that follows after. You won't be getting any fit issues with Zoukei-Mura kit, however, you have to test fit everything and read throughout the steps. Very pleasantly and according to my personal taste, Zoukei-Mura added proper angles in degrees, which concerns the outer parts of the wings and the stabilizers too. That is something that is vital for the Phantom due to its complex shape. One thing that judges look for first at the model show is the proper geometry of the completed model. Obviously, Zoukei-Mura are familiar with that fact, and since they strive for perfection with each and every of their kits, it is no surprise that they included those guidelines in their instruction booklet. Everything is very thorough, and I won't waste your time going through everything here. After all, I have to leave you some joy for the time when you get to open your own kit and its instruction sheet. And I believe that you can get the idea in general here. There is no instruction sheet from any other company that shows such sophistication and devotion. There is special attention paid to the Loran-D antenna and all the specific features of the Phantom D. That is typical, and we have seen that with the other Phantom reviews with their own specifics described for each model. Other than that, instructions resembles the other ones we have seen and are pretty much equal. We have armament, ladder, options for the flaps and the landing gear, and everything that a Phantom fan might expect from a 21st century kit. One thing that might create additional challenge is the positionable horizontal stabilizer, since some cutaway will be required and that involves some risks. Everything is explained properly, but exercise additional caution here, and I mean not only for the model, but for your fingers too. Instruction sheet is sending with sprue description and price for those who live in Japan and might want to buy spares. My overall conclusion about the sheet is 9 out of 10. I would have rated that 10 out of 10, but there is no color. Still very close to perfection in my opinion. The sprue that I want to start with is a small one but distinctive for this specific kit. This is a new tooling, and one can tell from looking on the back of the sprue where Super Wing Series No.7 is molded into the plastic. The sprue bears the major differences that you need to have to make the D version of the Phantom, but are not included on the rest of the sprues. Interestingly, the kit was marked as a new tooling, but this is the sole sprue that bears something completely new. So it is the standard tooling with additional parts included if we want to be perfectly accurate. As one might expect, the detail is amazing, and I have no reason to suggest anything but hand paint and weather those cockpit parts, despite the fact that there is decals in the set. Next sprue is a familiar one, and of course bears the qualities of all of the rest included in the kit. That is wonderful molding, not too deep nor too shallow panel lines, beautiful rivets, and tiny and delicate details. The plastic is pleasant to be worked with, and especially sanding is something that happens rather easy and straightforward. That goes for all of the Zoukei-Mura kits, and I believe it is an important thing to mention, especially with this kit here too. The cockpit does not need introduction. You are probably familiar with the fact that Zoukei-Mura managed to eliminate the need of aftermarket cockpit for their F-4 line. Due to the precision molding of everything, you can stick with what you have in the box and be more than happy with the results. Cockpits are usually weak link in most of the kits. Not here. The seats are represented beautifully, and the sole thing that is missing are the seat belts. However, you can easily scratch those or get a tiny photo etch sheet for that. Overall, that sprue here is one of the rather important ones, since 2 seats from resin and a cockpit top too might cost a little fortune nowadays. Japanese maker spares the hassle. Engines are another nice add-on, standard for Zoukei-Mura's Phantom line. As mentioned previously, those can be left out or inserted into the completed kit. It's up to you. The nozzles that are typical for the other versions of the Phantoms are on that sprue too. As far as I remember, this is the sole plastic disappointment for the whole line due to the thickness that is out of scale. Luckily, the rest is nearly perfect. We have the engines which, properly painted and weathered, will give a perfect representation of the muscles of the Phantom. Another high point here are the struts, which can be spiced up with a cable or two eventually, but even if you have them as they are, they will be perfectly adequate to the rest. Those next sprues are both repetitive. In other words, we have two of each included in this kit. Both of them come from earlier variants of the kits, and as mentioned previously, you can see that on the back of the sprues. There are weapons mostly, but they do include fuel tanks and a ladder too. D version was an Interceptor variant, and these will come handy here. Interestingly, we had those in the C version box too, where mostly bombs are required, instead of missiles. However, if you have both of the kits, you will most likely have some for spares. Then comes one sprue that I love. Those are the intakes, and I believe that this is one of the most challenging things to be reproduced in scale. There is many tiny elements molded here which can be easily clogged when priming and painting, so be careful with that. You have also slats and a nose cone which are molded in a way that will protect them from damaging. Very interestingly looking too. All the rivets on the gear doors and the brakes are bulged and allow for different weathering approach. This is another thing that Zoukei-Mura provides, a mixed bag of rivets which is essential in some parts. As we all know, rivets are not recessed in reality, and at some places they need to be done accordingly in scale too. Now some of the major sprues. The two halves of the fuselage bear something that I consider a wrong decision. That is the behind nozzle area, which in Academy, for example, is a single piece. I prefer that since you should use metallizers there and seam lines are very visible when using those. Yes, with proper sanding and gluing, you will avoid that, but in my opinion, it would have been easier if that area was molded into one piece. Other than that, everything is perfectly looking. The panel lines are not too deep and the rivets are quite visible too, both keeping the in-scale representation. Same goes for the other large sprue, the one that holds the bottom part of the Phantom, and the upper parts of the wings. Here, although half of that remains hidden facing the ground, everything is again abundant in details. It is true that many companies produce kits that have abundance of rivets, but here I must note that the accuracy was the first consideration that the producers took. In my opinion, it can hardly get any better than this. Everything about this kit can be considered as a benchmark in the scale, and I believe what you see is enough proof of that. Even if you try to improve it, you will have some hard time finding which areas exactly. Clear parts sprue is one and contains two options for the canopy and some head-up display parts. Those are divided on the sprue, but overall it is considered as one piece, similarly to the other Phantoms that Zoukei gave us not so long ago. Single-piece canopy option is a good decision from Zoukei-Mura since this aircraft can be easily presented in various options, including in flight. Quite often, some alignment problems appear if you decide to use the separate canopy pieces. That is why we have a single-piece clear part presented, alongside with the standard canopy divided into sections. The transparency is at very high level and bending of the image and of the light behind it is pretty minimal. The thickness of the molding is not perfect, but it is very close to perfection. There is riveting and clear lines all over, and overall everything is done according to the rest of the kit, being a benchmark in the scale. Plastic-wise, the kit is almost flawless. With this release of the Phantom, we have an improvement in regards to the paint options. Both are very similar in appearance and does not require huge decals with bright colors, which probably justifies the decision of putting two instead of one here. Both planes are from the 70s and feature the standard Vietnam camouflage typical for the Phantom of that time. The main difference is that one of those feature light gray belly while the other is with black bottom. The black bottom Phantoms are very different in appearance due to two reasons. One is that they look a bit smaller due to the darkish appearance of the belly. Second one is that the plane reminds of a Second World War color schemes, which makes the aircraft looks more vintage. Even they look alike, I prefer the dark scheme here, since it is more rarely seen and it presents challenges in regards to the weathering technique used. After all, that will look quite different in the end. And with all that said, here comes the decal sheet. We have a decal sheet similar in size to the previous Phantoms that Zoukei-Mura gave us. The difference is that the markings here are modest in size compared to the one before. The sheet is printed by Cartograph, which of course is the best possible choice for decals. Mostly, we have technical markings all over. That is standard for any Phantom in US service and comes with a requirement for the thinnest possible decal films and nice working decal solution. Luckily, Cartograph provides in this case. All is with superb quality and thickness, and, in my opinion, this is the only reasonable solution for any Phantom kit, Cartograph decals. Some of the numbers and letters can be reproduced by masking, but this is another story. In conclusion, even though there isn't specific insignia with huge size, there is some segments here that are quite unique, and luckily for us, the decal sheet guarantees success. Very clever decision for picking Cartograph instead of producing their own decals. Good work, Zoukei-Mura. Alongside with the instruction, there is a small 4-page catalog. The front of it shows all the 4 Phantom versions that we got so far from Zoukei-Mura. Note that the F-4D, the initial release, is already sold out. I assume that soon this will happen to the S version too. Then we have more once we open the first page. This time we have all the available kits from Zoukei-Mura in general. Some of those are too sold out. Interestingly, their newest 32nd scale dual-seater file is out of stock too. Pretty quick. And in the end we have few more kits shown, with the D Phantom taking the front seat here. This catalog is a good addition to the kit and a thoughtful reminder of how fast these babies are being sold out. Be quick or you will miss them. So let's wrap this review up. This is the 4th F4 from Zoukei-Mura and things are getting better with every next release. The kit is extremely high quality and it seems that soon it will become the same legend as the real Phantom. Hasegawa, although obsolete, continues to release repacks of their numerous F4s. Academy are too slowly but steadily gaining speed in regards to that subject. However, Zoukei-Mura gave us the king in the Phantom country. Soon F-4E and hopefully R variants are about to see the light of day. That will seal the deal once and for all and will make this line of Phantoms the absolute winner in 48 scale. Maybe they will even blow it up to 32nd. Hopefully. With this kit, if you are into ground-based Phantoms, of course, you get a little bit more compared to the previous one. There are 2 camouflage options and additional sprue that is specific for the type. Price-wise, the Phantom from Zoukei is a bit on the higher end of 48 scale. However, if you want to be with similar or better quality and still using other kits, you have to accept the fact that the aftermarket parts will be needed there. So in my opinion, if you want a Smoky Joe, go for Zoukei-Mura and don't waste your time with the rest. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more. Hopefully soon enough we will get the next Zoukei-Mura Phantom and we will get to review it too. I personally hope that the R versions will be soon in my hands. If you enjoyed, please hit the like button and comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.